Marion, please come to the stage. Now, I am going to tell you.
I'm going to sit.
You will sit right there? Good. Now, you notice I got smart. The first interview, I was stupid. So I, instead of putting, let me turn this down a little. Okay, there we go. So last time I should have mic'd you and I didn't. I apologize. So now, I want you to explain to me. Now, how many of you are familiar with right side, left side of the brain? How many of you have both sides? Okay. Somewhat, right. Now, mathematics requires the use of one side, and art is supposed to be the other side. How do you combine the two?
I'm not compartmentalized.
Now, I want to know, how do you put math into your poetry?
Oh, that's a big question, of course, but it started, I just don't know any other way to think of math. And when I first, can people hear me? When I first became interested in math, I kind of fell in love with it when I had algebra, and I just thought of it as an emotional thing. The simplest way to say it is that it connects with the mysteries, the way that science does and science fiction does. Not the same way for me, because I really don't connect so much science fiction, not as much as math. So that's how it started. I wrote about math in my diary, along with other young girl type of things that young girls write in their diary, or young people write in their diary. So
that's definitely
emotional
different
for me, and that's the shortest way. And maybe.
Now, you're at Arcadia. Are you still teaching at Arcadia?
Yes.
So you're still doing the math and the English there. What's the one thing you like to leave your students with?
I'm hoping that they will see, well, many things, but I'm hoping that they will, I was going to say be moved by math. Well, maybe that's a bit much to hope for, but it has happened with a couple students, okay, a few students. I've been teaching it for something like 5-6 years. That's this course that I developed called Mathematics in Literature. But I hope that they will at least see that math can be loved, even if they themselves don't love it or like it, or most of my students have other passions. All of them basically do. So we can relate that way to each other in lots of other ways too. Some of them, the passion is math, and some of them something else. Acting comes to mind now. So I hope that they will see. I certainly give them demonstrations of how it is for me, how math is for me, and so I hope that they, again, will see that it's possible to feel emotionally connected to math. And math is not a cold, hard subject.
I always told that the only thing that doesn't lie is math. The numbers won't lie. You can use them for a lie, but the numbers won't lie. Is that true?
Well, it's not just numbers, first of all. Math is other things besides numbers. It's geometry, and it's something called topology, rubber sheet geometry, and it's abstract algebra, where instead of only numbers, X and Y or A and B can stand for other entities that satisfy certain properties. And abstract algebra is one of my favorite fields in math. So it's not just numbers, although they say that number theory is the queen of the sciences. And the paper that I've just submitted does have to do with numbers, strictly numbers, integers, beginning, So I forget whether I've answered your question or not.
I was asking you if numbers lie, but you took
okay.
This one. Which is one I love.
There are a lot of different journeys in math. It's not necessarily true that in math there's always an answer, and it's also not necessarily true that there's only one answer. There's a lot of uncertainty in math. Some of you might know about that. It connects a lot with philosophy, and a lot has to do with which axioms we choose. Axiom is sort of like when I explain to my students, they like the first cause. What causes this, that,
Yes.
what causes that, the other. And at the bottom is not a first cause, really. And for axioms, the axioms I'm talking about are things that mathematicians decide upon. And different mathematicians sometimes use different set of axioms, but they choose them according to what seems intuitive. So intuitively, a statement is either true or not, but there are some mathematicians who won't accept that. Okay. So intuition is part of it, and I think the planet we're on. Maybe maybe axioms are different. Different axioms occur to Martians, if there were Martians, living Martians. From Earth. It's experience is what I want to say. Okay?
Now, hearing all of that...
So you said it was a 1-minute interview.
Yeah.
And I could go on and on.
But that's okay, because hearing all of that, it's very easy to understand why you are a writer. It's very easy to understand why you're a writer. Now, there's 2 facts about you that I want to share with everyone. The number is 21. The number of books that Marion has written, and the number 17.
Actually published. I've written more than that. Twice that. Tell me about it, right? Those of us who are writers. Okay.
All right, and the book that you have with this, your most recent book, is a sequel. The first one was written 17 years ago, and that's where you're going to be sharing the poetry from?
No, this is memoir. The last. Some of you have. Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
Was that a slide request?
So I write poetry and memoir and not fiction, and I probably anything but except fiction and drama. Plays. Haven't done that yet. Although I've written in the parallels, there's conversation, so I can do dialogue for a short amount of time. The other book is called Parables. The next to the last book is that I had published is called Parables for a Rainy Day, which I'll read from that also, and I'm reading a lot of old poems too. And some poems I'm reading for Devon, in a sense, or just the fact that for Devon, and the fact that for my son Devon over there, who arrived just in time I didn't think he would, and I'm glad that you did, Dev. All right. Am I positioned okay? So
yes. Without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to the reading.
Okay.
Mary.
Well, first, I don't know if you've noticed that for the first time in something like 45 years, or maybe more than that, I'm wearing nail polish. Same short nails, nail polish. The reason is that when I walked into my acupuncturist office about a year ago, acupuncturist's office about a year and a half ago, the person at the desk had this color, which is teal blue or whatever it's called, some kind of dark blue, and short nails like me. And I thought, that looks nice. I can do that. I can do nail polish, and it's not that I'm probably not going to. I did it for the first time today for this reading because I thought, I can. Read the following poem that has to do with short nails. And it's an old poem. It's one of the first poems I ever wrote, so it goes back more than 30 years. I was taking a women's writing workshop. And I hear talking, and I'd kind of rather not. Like I say to my students. And I also say, any questions? If you have any questions, you can ask. A women's writing workshop, and one of the assignments was to write about a part of your body or a part of yourself that is usually thought of as being something negative. And I actually wrote a buck tooth poem. I have one tooth. It's slightly buck. And then I wrote this nail biter's liberation is what it's called. Okay. I don't bite my nails anymore. I did them when I was, teenager. Teenager. Then I thought, okay, keep them short and you won't have to bite them. Nail biter's liberation. Short nails. Short, cute nails. Chubby, stubby, cuddly nails. nails the shape of confetti, nails the color of fine maple, piano nails, typewriter nails, nails like children's nails, nails that don't peek over the edges, nails that don't fit into corners, nails that don't tap, nails that don't tempt, nails that don't break, nails that don't scratch, mini nails, acorn nails, Pac-Man nails, lily of the valley nails, nails inside fingers like babies inside buntings. Anyway, short nails. And especially those thumbnails, twice as wide as they are long. It's a family trait. It's a family treat. They're not nails, they're hammers. They're not thumbs, they're thumpers. But all of them, nails. Short nails, short, sweet nails. And actually a friend of mine, who's also a math professor, said that she calls these kind of thumbs that are twice as wide as they are long, she calls them math nails. She says because everybody she knows who has those kind of nails are connected to math in some way. Elijah, what about your nails? Are they? Yeah. Well,
kind of,
nail.
sort of.
No, but they're but then nails are different. Okay. And this poem is for Devin. We were talking the other day about the idea of talking to our kittens and talking to our cats, and maybe singing to our kittens and our cats. And so this refers to my early adolescence, as you'll see. It's called That Kitten, and this is also an early poem. Mittens 1 came whenever we called her. Mittens 2 called whenever we came to her. Scatty looked like Hitler, and Lilac was tiny and drying. But I don't remember with which kitten I, 13, painful, hilarious, and self-dubbed junior philosopher, alone in the house that 7:30 p.m., sat in the big diagonal chair and made up sad songs, both really sad and effectively sad, while the air began to show more and the furniture began to show less. I don't remember to which kitten I poured as she purred. Yes, to which kitten I sang, of time, of space, of love, of not having loved at all, and probably of existence, and the sum of the angles in polygons with crossing sides. I was a young one, but I sang like an old one. It was a long evening, as long as the rest of my life, and whichever kitten arched, yawned, curled, and slept, yes, listened the way I'd always wanted to be listened to. And now I'm going to read from the Parables chapbook. And I'm going to probably do it. I'm going to make a bet again. I'm going to say, oh, where's this one? Where's that one? So we can, nothing wrong with it, right? So let's see. I wonder which poem should I start with. Well, okay, last week, I don't know if anyone is here today who was here last week, but during the open, I promised a Halloween poem for this week. It's closer to Halloween, right? I didn't read a Halloween poem in the open. And actually, I brought Halloween props with me, but we'll forget about those. I found a cute little skeleton in the thrift store today. It was really cute. Could have hung him from here or something. Could have hung him from there. We won't, though. Okay, so this is called The Ultimate Halloween. And this is from a dream that I had a while back. Dry old house, midnight party, ghost stories. But they don't huddle together and scream. Instead, the stories are piped over the intercom, and they have been assigned separate rooms. They huddle apart and scream. The rooms are large, the halls are large, the entire house is large. Finally, she gets so scared, she breaks the rules, leaves her room, stalks the halls, calling his name 3 times. The answer comes, her name 3 times. She moves to the next corridor. Are you there, there, there? Yes, he answers, I'm there, there, there. But she calls again, are you there, there, there? Or am I alone, alone, alone? And so they keep calling out like that. ghostly questions, a trifle flirty, but mostly lonely, and not decreasing the distance between them, always speaking the last word 3 times to beat the echo to the punch. And, well, since we have a different audience from last week, I can read the poem that I read last week. And of course, I have to find it. Here it is. It's called The Time Shift. A boy's head crashes into something too big, and at first he's okay, but then he develops time shift syndrome. What he sees and hears is what happened 6 minutes before. Walking along, he keeps bumping into the people who are in his space now. She guides him so that happens only slightly. The really bad thing is conversation. She tries to help. She works at the math of this, what to say when. She comes to adjust. So does he. It starts feeling better. They develop a rapport. He smiles at her a lot. He knows it's difficult for her. He knows she's just read an article about a whale who sings at a higher pitch than the others of his species. He hears her tell his mother, "There is a lot that your son has not lost," and he hears his mother answering nothing. When it's all over, she doesn't miss the boy, and she's grateful that nobody she knows has time shift syndrome. That in bed, her man rolls onto her, not past her. The only time shift is the microseconds that sound and thought take. And only the stars are ahead of us. With only the silent stars need we have that kind of rapport. Only the stars smile at us in that way. A couple more from this book of parables. Okay. This last parable that I'm going to read, it actually happened. It's not why it's called, but it's called, but it actually happened. Weirdness at 22nd and Walnut. Her light was green, but the cross light wasn't red. She stands there aghast. She stands there afraid. Then her light turns red, and so does the cross light. That's too quiet. She continues to stand. Next, she's staring again at 2 green lights. Identical twins, a seesaw with both ends up. Eventually, she gets used to it. She'll be there always, trapped in this infinite loop between type 1 and type 2 errors. 2 blocks from home, 2 blocks from family, looking both ways, looking all ways, more and more mindlessly waiting for a true green, or at least a true red. Now I'm going to read a math poem. Well, maybe these others were math poems, but this is my book of poetry about my passion for math. It's called, and of the process of working on a particular math problem that I was working on. It's called Crossing the Equal Sign, and this is Clay on the cover, but you probably can't see it, Crossing the Equal Sign. Okay. This is, actually these poems are untitled. But if it had a title, this would be called First Day at the Beach. After the heat of the day, I get past the breakers to where I can graze, where I become aware that we are all of us in the lap of Mother Earth. Where and when I can believe in Earth as a mother, playing with us children, playing with us kindly. But then I catch sight of the horizon, its slight frown, and I see that I am looking down at it, not across. I see that Earth is a convex mother. We are on, not in her belly. It is not us she is in labor with. Not that we'll fall off, only that there is that peripheral vision. There are those 2 wings, and they bend, then sway. And perhaps we are the balancers rather than the balanced. Perhaps we are tightrope walkers bearing the x-axis. And this is not in the book, this following poem. It's actually from a chapbook which I just wrote, just meaning over the summer, so that's not quite just, but I just sort of wrote the whole chapbook kind of together, borrowing a little bit from poems that I'd written before, but not a lot. And the chapter is about my love of thrift shopping, and also I think some of the social significance of thrift shopping and clothes, and liking the way things look, liking pretty things. Anyway, this poem combines math with that, I have to say, lesser passion, although today was a thrifting day, as I've told you. The polygon necklace. I let it get away because it cost $25, and the flea market wouldn't bargain down. So now, every market, every table, I look for it. Sometimes I ask for it, and I'm answered with another question. What's a polygon? Oh, a type of shape, any number of straight lines. Nobody's got that necklace. Nobody but whoever bought it at that other flea market. Last week, somebody had pentagon earrings, and at home I've got triangles, squares, hexagons. If I put them together, I'd have a polygon necklace. But not the polygon necklace. Not those 6 different polygons, different colors too. Chubby heptagons and octagons fitting together in a puzzle. Nobody's got that, nobody I know. Oh, someday at a math conference, I'll find a charm bracelet of the 5 platonic solids, or the trefoil knot on a sterling chain, or some reasonably artistic rendering of piano's space-filling curve. But I want natural polygons, serendipitous polygons, a just happen to be polygon necklace, made and sold by people who don't know what a polygon is. And these two are recent poems. A Curious Light. By recent, I mean like in the last month. In the bedroom at night, the wall directly ahead, upper left, way upper, there is a curious light. It's a large vertical rectangle with a hole in it. One night I kept looking at it. I knew what caused the hole. It was the large lamp just at the window. But I didn't know what caused the light, what made it go on and off regularly. I counted. 29 seconds on, 39 seconds off. So no, not a passing car, and not a parked car, not the church across the street, not a person with a flashlight. I stood up and went to the window. I traced it to the street light. As it flicked, green versus yellow versus red, so did the light on the wall. Red doesn't make that light. Yellow doesn't make that light. Only that very bright green. But it doesn't end up green, not on the wall, I mean. It ends up regular, not one thin green line. Thing is, I've slept in this bedroom over 30 years. I often wake up and see that light. Always assumed it came from some car. Always assumed it usually wasn't there. Now I kind of love that light. One of the things I love is I know I don't have to look at it. As I fall asleep, I keep my eyes closed. If I wake up at night, I love to lie there and wonder whether, when I open my eyes, it will be there. If it's there, for how much longer? If it's not there, will it be almost there? Which of those 39 seconds is it? Remember, 39 seconds off, right? Okay. This is a really short poem called 32 Beethoven Piano Sonatas. So I play the piano, and I actually have played all 32 Beethoven sonatas, some with more mistakes than others. If you counted the number of mistakes, it would be a lot more than 32. Okay. So I guess people here know that Beethoven was deaf, and it just got more and more deaf through his, especially later life, but he composed to the end. The very late ones he couldn't hear. The very early ones he could. But what about number 16? What about number 17? And what difference does it make? It was so long ago. This is called To My Body During Undiagnosed Illness. And I did have an undiagnosed illness. It was horrible until it was diagnosed. It turned out to be neuralgia. So then it was treated, you know. And I thought of the book our bodies, ourselves. To my body during undiagnosed illness. You are not myself. I am very afraid of you. I cower when I think what you can do. I beg of you, part by powerful part. Teeth, please don't decay. Legs, please don't break. Throat, don't grow an extra nerve. Even what is often my special part, please don't suddenly start burning. And please, brain, let me sleep at night. In general body, I beg you to be good, not do anything I wouldn't do, let well enough alone. I will do anything you want, if I only knew what that was. Do you need to be kept dry? Is salt good or bad for you? In what position should I hold you? Which doctors do you need to see? Anything, I'll do or not do anything. Only please don't hurt me any more than you already have. So I have 3 sons, and Devin has to wait his turn to be read about. This is called Where Brett at 5 Came From. So it's really a found poem. Brett said when he was 5. Brett's now almost 35. Okay. God made him. In fact, God made him first. Him and Santa and the Tooth Fairy. They all lived together in the moon. Not on the moon, in the moon. He helped Santa make the toys and the Tooth Fairy the quarters. And he helped God make the people. Yes, before he was a dot, he was with God. God has 4 eyes, 2 on each arm. He has a nose for eyes, mouth for nose, and chin for mouth. And for chin, he has a tool, a hammer hanging down like a beard. And he wears a beautiful dress. God's a woman, but saying he is smoother. He was bigger than God, but he doesn't know what he looked like because he was him. All 3 of them were 2 million high. That's higher than infinity houses. That's why he decided inside himself to become a dot and live with us guys, because that was too high. Aaron at 8, admitting he wants a baby doll. And I'm sure I bought him dolls, because that's what I'm like. But this is what he said. This is really pretty much exactly what he said. With a bottle, Mom, and red hair. No, and real hair. And not just because you're non-sexist. You know, the type that looks just like real bottles with nipples and everything, and a little hole in the bottom so the water can come out, and blonde hair. Don't forget blonde hair. And a makeup kit, too. The type Ellie always gets, with perfume and nail polish. Pink nail polish and the type of perfume that squirts out. I'll go pick it out with you. We'll just say we're getting it for my girlfriend or my baby sister. And I can keep it in Ellie's room. And don't forget the bottle, Mom. And real hair. Real blonde hair. And the coda for this reading are excerpts from my latest book. It's called Still the End, Memoir of a Nursing Home Wife, because I was a nursing home wife for 10 years. And the sequel to Dirty Details, The Days and Nights of a Well Spouse. Well spouse means that someone who has an unwell spouse, a chronically unwell spouse. And so my first husband had multiple sclerosis. And so Dirty Details is a caregiving memoir, and Still the End is the new book. So I'm going to read a few excerpts from that. From 1993 to 2003, my husband Jeff had a suction tube a few feet from his bed in the nursing home. He asked increasingly for it. At first, he'd mutter his usual brand of denial. I don't really need it, it's just for security. Later, he stopped saying that. Asking for it meant asking me to take it off the hook and put it in his mouth, just close enough to his throat to get it what needed to be suctioned out, but not close enough to choke him. Little bits of greenery and brownery, failing to dissolve in saliva, floated down that transparent cylinder. They collected at the bottom, a slimy ocean to imagine bathing in. In other words, to quote one of the aides, yuck. And Jeff agreed. Okay, one more short excerpt of what it's like to be a nursing home wife, but the book is 320 pages. Can't read it all. Okay. So it's really, it's my story and also our whole family story. Much as I felt for him, I also, right or wrong, got increasingly annoyed when, upon my arrival each time at Inglis House, the nursing home, the aides would exclaim to Jeff things like, "Hey Jeff, your wife's here." Look at the smile on his face. That's because his wife's here. How'd you get such a pretty wife? I know why he's got that big smile on his face. It's because his wife just walked in. Hey Jeff, guess who's here? Your wife. It was enough to make me want to not be pretty, not be wife, and not be here. All right, it's Devon's turn to be read about. Our 7-year-old Devon, at the time, he was 7, not anymore. He was 7 when my then husband went to live in the nursing home. Our 7-year-old Devon was at the time homeschooling and still not reading or writing. He dictated stories to me, and though they were full of abrupt changes in scene, as well as telling rather than showing, I detected creativity. For example, at one point he dictated, "Do you want to know what he looked like? His picture is on the next page." "Why not this page?" I asked. "Because they're not supposed to see him right away." In one story, a man's parents were killed as soon as he was born by the doctor who took him out. Why? The doctor wanted him to be lonely. Why? I don't know. Writing fiction is something I seldom do. I can't bear to make sad things happen. I can write about sad things that have already happened, but making them happen, I haven't the heart. Sorry. Devon, though, did. He could make bad guys, weapons, killings, as much as he needed to. All right. Now, why is the book called Still the End? Well, here's why. 3/4 of the way into Devon's futuristic long story number 3, I could see that he was running out of ideas. "You know," I told him, "you don't have to wait till the end of the notebook to end the story." "But then I'll have all these other pages," he answered. "Oh, I see, you're worried about wasting the pages." "Yeah." "Well, you could just use them for another story or for pictures." But Devon decided to use them to end the story. On the very next page, he wrote, "The end." On the one after that, he wrote, "It's still the end." And then, "It's the end already." He kept thinking of variations on that for a total of 13 pages. It was a very long and chronic end, like his father's. Maybe Dev believed that all ends had to be like that. And I'm going to end this reading with also a long ago poem. A lot of us are writers. Raise your hand if you're a writer. Oh, come on.
There's got to be more.
Did it? There's got to be more. Anyway, this is called How Not to Write a Rejection Letter. Okay, and it's based on experience with, I think we got postal mail rejection letters, not email rejection letters. I mean, always postal mail, you know. Okay, how not to write a rejection letter. Don't begin, "Dear contributor." Don't end, "We wish you every success." Don't end, "We wish you every success with your writing." Don't middle, "Sorry, this is only a form letter, but we don't have time to go into detail." And don't go into detail. Don't say your resume sure was impressive or your cover letter sure was cute. Too bad the poems were so disappointing. And don't you dare enclose your flyer, for Christ's sake, rubbing it in like iodine about the titles you've published over the past 5 years by poets more worthy than me. And the rave reviews by the likes of the New York Times and all the other fabulous things I'm missing out on. And don't add insult to injury by including an order form, inviting me to subscribe. The implication being that if I can't write, at least I can read. and that you know by the fact that I submit my work that I have stamp and Xerox money, and that you think that money would be better spent supporting the work of other poets. Just don't, okay? Just don't.
Once again, let's thank Marion Cohen, published 29 and probably what, about 40 books all total that we don't know about.
Well, actually more than that.
More than that, oh my
Oh,
God.
no, I think, let's see, no, more than that, yeah.
Okay.
On my website, I think 13 books that are still.
Okay, and your website is?
MarionCohen.net.
Great. Check it out. Now, I'm going to do two things real quick.